Why would you spend 4 elixir for a hog rider that gets countered by everything when you can use 5 elixir to get 4 royal hogs? Not only can they do more damage than the hog rider, they can also attack both lanes at the same time. That's why I'm giving you 15 tips to dominate with royal hogs. Tip number 1. Splitting. The fact that you can split the royal hogs opens up so many possible ways to use them. You can place them all to the same lane, or you can split 2 hogs to both lanes, or 1 hog to the other lane and 3 for the other. But why is this important? Splitting your hogs is important against splash cards like the Mega Knight, Valkyrie, or Fireball. When you know your enemy has a good splash card to counter your hogs, you should split your hogs like this. This way, the enemy has to spend elixir on both lanes and can't just slap a Mega Knight on top of all the hogs. You should almost always split your hogs against cards like Valkyrie, Mega Knight, Wizard, Bowler, or Fireball. Just keep in mind that splitting your hogs is not a good idea against Cannoneer, because the hogs won't get much done against it. Tip number 2. Pressure. Do you often find yourself in this position? There is million troops attacking your tower, and you have no way to stop them. Plus, you haven't done any damage to the enemy towers. If yes, you should try placing your hogs to the opposite lane when the enemy starts building their push. This pressure usually forces the enemy to spend elixir defending the hogs, so they won't have much elixir to build a big push. Just be careful, because sometimes these players just ignore your royal hogs and spend all their elixir attacking your tower. Then you probably can't defend their push, but it's fine because you also took down their tower, so you are now in a 1-to-1 situation. Tip number 3. The spawn order. As you can see here, the hogs spawn from left to right, meaning that this hog here is on the arena before any of the other hogs. Because of this, you should try attacking the right tower instead of the left tower when playing against fishermen. The princess tower and the fisherman will both target the left hog first. As a result, the fisherman will pull the hog that is already low hit points, so the hog will die before it can turn on the king tower. This way, you deal more damage to the tower and the enemy doesn't even get his king tower activated. If you play your hogs to the left side, the enemy will easily get the king tower activation because the princess tower and the fisherman are targeting different hogs. Tip number 4. The spawn order. Number 2. This tip is similar to the previous tip. Ranged troops will target the left hog first because it spawned first. But if the hog jumps over the river, the ranged troops will retarget to the closest troop instead. Here is an example. The fisherman starts hooking the left hog, but since the hog jumps, the fisherman retargets and is now pulling the archer queen. This is why you need to be careful when placing the hogs, because you don't want your support troops to be pulled by the fisherman. This tip doesn't only apply to fishermen. It also applies to other cards as well, for example, the bomber or the cannon cart. Tip number 5. 1-3 split. We all know that playing royal hogs against bomb tower is miserable. It doesn't matter what you do, the hogs just die to the bomb tower. Well, here is a tip for you. You can split your hogs like this. 1 goes to the left tower and 3 for the right. Now when they place a bomb tower, it will target the left hog first. Now you have more time to destroy the bomb tower before it kills all the hogs. Tip number 6. Correct placement. Have you ever been in a 1-to-1 situation and lost because your hogs couldn't deal enough damage to the tower? Then this tip is for you. Place your hogs on this tile when attacking the second tower. This way all 4 hogs will attack the princess tower. If you place them on any of these tiles, some of the hogs will attack the king tower, resulting in lower damage on the princess tower. Tip number 7. Kiting. Not only are the royal hogs good at dealing damage, they can also be useful when defending. You can place the hogs behind a troop like this, so the enemy troops will start chasing the hogs. This gives your tower more time to deal damage to the enemy troops, while you can attack the enemy tower at the same time. This method is also important when the game is about to end, and you need to survive just a couple more seconds to win. The enemy troops will start chasing the hogs, so they won't have enough time to attack your tower anymore, so you win. Tip number 8. Middle pump. If the enemy places an elixir collector in the middle, you can split your hogs like this. So 1 of the hogs will destroy the elixir pump, and 3 will attack the princess towers. This is a great way to get rid of the elixir collector if you don't have a spell available. Tip number 9. Bomber lineup. If you're using the evolved bomber, this tip is for you. If you know the enemy has a Mega Knight, you can use your hogs to bait the Mega Knight and then use the evolved bomber at the bridge. The bomber will shoot the Mega Knight and hit the tower, dealing massive damage. This also works very well if the enemy defends your hogs with a little prince. You can line up your bomber with the Guardian so it will deal massive damage to the little prince and the princess tower. Tip number 10. The mind games. Now I will show you how to play mind games with your opponents. You can use a fire spirit or other support troops close to the bridge so it looks like you are going to attack. Often the enemy will predict your Royal Hogs with their counter, but in reality, you just baited their counter, and now you can attack once their counter is out of cycle. Tip number 11. The mind games. Number 2. Here is another way to trick your enemy. If you see that the enemy is using Goblin Drill on your tower, you can place your hogs to the same side as the Goblin Drill. The enemy thinks the hogs are coming towards his tower, but they are actually going back towards the Goblin Drill, so he completely missed his fireball. Tip number 12. Expo Retarget. When using your hogs against an Expo in the middle, you need to be careful because the Expo will retarget to your tower when the hogs jump over the river. You need to make sure you have something on the ground blocking the Expo when the hogs jump. Otherwise, the Expo will target your tower and do massive damage. Tip number 13. 3-card cycle. Does it feel impossible to beat a player who is playing Bomb Tower Cycle against your Royal Hogs? Place a champion like Little Prince or Archer Queen from the back. You can't have 2 champions on the arena at the same time, so you will get back to your Royal Hogs much faster because you only need to play 3 cards until you have the Royal Hogs in your hand again. This way, you should be able to outcycle your opponent so they won't have their bomb tower ready for the second Royal Hogs. Tip number 14. Best combo in the game. Combo the Royal Hogs with evolved skeletons for an unstoppable combo. Place both, the evolved skeletons and Royal Hogs in the middle, so 2 hogs and 2 skeletons will go to each side. I have another video explaining this combo because it truly is the best combo in the game. Tip number 15. Know every matchup. In different matchups, you need to play differently in order to win. For example, against Mega Knight, you need to play passively, but against Lava Hound, you need to be very aggressive. You will learn these with experience, but if you want to speed up your progress, I have made another video on how to beat every matchup with Royal Hogs. Let's sum up these tips. Split the hogs against splash cards. Pressure opposite lane when enemy starts building a push. Attack the right side against fishermen. Don't let enemy troops retarget to your support troops. Use the 1-3 split against bomb tower. Place the hogs on this tile when going for the second tower. Kite enemy troops. Destroy the pump in the middle. Line up the bomber with the enemy Royal Hogs counters. Play mind games with your opponent. Watch out for the Expo retarget. Use champions to activate 3-card cycle. Split evolved skeletons with Royal Hogs. Learn how to play every matchup. Thanks for watching.